Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, our digital town hall. I just want to let you know before we get into it, my name is Andrea and I work here at the Canadian Women's Foundation. This webinar right now is being recorded just to give you the heads up. And also, in terms of questions, if you have any questions or comments you want to make along the way, feel free to do that in the chat box that you see on the right side of your screen. You're all muted right now just to make it simpler and not to have too many voices, but please go ahead and type it in along the way. And we also have some questions that were kind of generated ahead of time that we'll speak to in the Q&A portion of our webinar. So as I mentioned, my name is Andrea and I'm VP of Public Engagement here at the Canadian Women's Foundation, and this is our first ever digital town hall. So for folks in the room, just to let you know that because it's being recorded, you'll get a copy of the recording after that you can always revisit. And for anybody who isn't actually listening to it live, you will get it, you'll be hearing it as you're hearing the recording. So just to give you that heads up. Before we speak to the Canadian Women's Foundation and get into the main portion of our agenda, I just want to start with a land acknowledgement and action statement. So the work of the Canadian Women's Foundation and the organizations we support takes place on traditional Indigenous territories. We are really grateful for the opportunity to meet and work on this land, but we recognize that land acknowledgements aren't enough. We need to pursue truth, reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship in an ongoing effort to make right with all our relations. So to give you a sense of where we're going in terms of this truth and reconciliation journey, to start internally at the foundation, we're learning and unlearning to start. So in 2019 and 2020, we will learn from key reports on truth and reconciliation and grow our understanding of relevant issues such as the historical impacts of charity work on Indigenous communities, gender rights activism led by Indigenous leaders, and how settler-based organizations like ourselves can build allied relationships with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities. This will prepare us to commit to concrete action across all our departments and sign on to the Philanthropic Communities Declaration of Action that was developed by the Circle on Philanthropy and Indigenous Peoples in Canada. We will also take learning from the final report of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls to inform our work and actions. So after these initial steps, we will further pursue truth and reconciliation efforts in our organizational plans, and this will include things like how we make grants, how we administer community gatherings, deepening community relationships, engaging in policy and practice change work, and reporting on activities and our outcomes along the way. So just wanted to give you a heads up. When we do land acknowledgements, it's not just about acknowledging, it's also about action steps and what we will be doing as a foundation to go down a path of truth and reconciliation. So I just want to say bonjour, hello, and move on to the agenda. So just to give you a sense what we're going to be looking at, we'll do some updates. These updates will partially be in French and in English. We'll have Paulette Sr., our CEO and President, speak to some updates. We will do a question and answer period, and you can, of course, as I mentioned, type in your questions in French and in English, and we have some questions already loaded up and ready to go. And we'll also speak to some campaign and some coming events that I know you'll want to know about. And with any remaining time, we're going to do some more questions at the end and just give you a sense of some answers. So the goal overall of the town hall is just to give you updates and emerging issues in gender equality that we've been working on, so you get an understanding of the things that you've been enabling as our supporters, and we thank you for that. And of course, to allow some questions and some answers up front. These are the kinds of things that we know we put into updates. We send in emails, we send in donor communications, but we want to make sure that this gets out to you in as many ways as possible. And just a note on translation, as we've mentioned in our communication so far, we're posting this primarily in English with a few sections in French and in English. And the goal, of course, is to grow our capacities to communicate in French and English with all our supporters. So this is just one small step in that direction, and it's something that we know we have to continue building on. Okay, so we can move right into updates. And I would like to ask Anu, who's on the phone. Anu is a staff at the Canadian Women's Foundation. So Anu, if you could jump into this Investment Readiness Program grants update and give a little intro for yourself as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Andrea, and good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you're calling in from the west of the country. My name is Anuradha Dugal. I'm based in Montreal, and I'm the Director of Government Relations Policy at the Community Initiatives team. So I will make my remarks first in English and then also in French. So the Canadian Women's Foundation is one of the partners that was asked by ESDC, so Economic and Social Development Canada, one of the federal government departments, to join a partnership to develop the Investment Readiness Program, which is a broad-based collection of groups who will help Canadian organizations get ready for what would be called a social finance fund opportunity that will open up in 2021. So this was announced in June 2019, and through this funding, the Foundation's particular role is to boost women's sector participation in social innovation and getting them ready to be involved in social finance, which is especially important in this case for organizations serving women with multiple barriers that are often unrepresented in this field. So the investment readiness funding that we hope to, that we will offer, and we're actually in the middle of our first cycle of funding, will be to increase the number of variety of groups engaged in the social finance ecosystem, build awareness, enhance capacity, increase accessibility, contribute to learning on what works, and applying a gender lens. Et maintenant, je vais faire à peu près les mêmes remarques en français. Mon nom, c'est Anuradha Dugal, je suis basée à Montréal. Je suis la directrice dans l'équipe initiative communautaire qui travaille sur les politiques gouvernementales. Et je vais juste vous expliquer un peu le programme de préparation à l'investissement qui a été fondé par le gouvernement du Canada. La Fondation canadienne des femmes a été un des groupes qui a été choisi par le gouvernement aider avec l'octroi des fonds pour ces organismes. Surtout, ce financement que nous avons reçu vise à stimuler la participation du secteur des services aux femmes dans l'innovation sociale et la finance sociale, un endroit où réellement il y a peu de représentation des femmes et peu de représentation des enjeux féministes. Alors, nous espérons que nous pouvons continuer à élargir l'écosystème avec notre engagement. Ce financement que nous avons reçu va nous aider à augmenter le nombre et la diversité des groupes prenant part à cet écosystème, accroître la sensibilisation, renforcer les capacités, élargir l'accès à l'information, contribuer à l'apprentissage des meilleures pratiques et appliquer la perspective fondée sur le genre en utilisant l'ACS+. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to Andrea.
Thank you so much for that update. We're really excited about this program because it is a new area for us. So we just will continue giving you updates on the movements of that, and please stay tuned to our website because you'll see more information coming up for further grant deadlines. So we're going to move on to another update. I'm just trying to get my screen to work. Okay, that's all right. Oh, there we go. Works now. Okay. We're going to do a little update on the Teen Healthy Relationship Grants. And our colleague Janini is going to be giving us a bit of an update on what's going on with that. We just had a deadline. It just closed. So give us a sense of what's going on with that, Janini.
Hi, thank you, Andrea. So my name is Janini Rocha. I'm a program manager with the Community Initiatives team at the Foundation and based in Montreal as well. Really nice to, well, talk with all of you online today. And I'm going to present I'll just do a brief presentation on the Teen Healthy Relationships Project, as Andrea mentioned, and also then I'll talk afterwards about the Gender Equality Network Canada. I will also do a French and English. Donc, mon nom est Janine Rocha, je suis responsable de programme dans l'équipe d'initiatives communautaires à la Fondation. Je vais vous présenter un aperçu de deux initiatives de la Fondation, les projets sur la promotion des relations saines chez les jeunes, mais aussi après sur une présentation sur les réseaux d'égalité des genres au Canada. Moi, je vais les faire aussi en français et en anglais. Donc, on commence en français à parler du projet Bâtir les domaines de la promotion des relations saines chez les jeunes, une initiative entamée par la Fondation canadienne des femmes depuis 2015. L'objectif du projet est de soutenir les programmes qui aident les jeunes à adopter des stratégies les permettant d'établir et de maintenir des relations interpersonnelles saines de manière à prévenir la violence fondée sur les genres et ses conséquences immédiates et à long terme. Nous sommes très heureuses d'avoir obtenu il y a quelques mois une nouvelle subvention de l'Agence de la santé publique du Canada pour mettre en œuvre une deuxième phase de projet qui va jusqu'au mars 2024. Cette prochaine phase vise l'action collective nationale axée sur l'amélioration et la consolidation des liens et relations entre les différentes parties prenantes et aussi sur la mise en place d'une coordination plus étroite entre les programmes, les services et un partage plus efficace des connaissances entre les programmes de promotion des relations saines chez les jeunes. Donc, on offre à ces moments de subvention pour des projets qui travaillent sur ces domaines. Malheureusement, la date limite pour envoyer une demande de subvention, c'était le 21 octobre, mais ça veut dire aussi qu'on aura plus de nouvelles à propos des projets qu'on va financer bientôt disponibles sur le site web. Switching back to English, I just want to present the project Building the Field on Teen Healthy Relationships Programming in Canada. It's an initiative that the Canadian Women's Foundation embarked on in 2015. And the goal of this project is to support programs that help youth learn strategies to develop and maintain healthy interpersonal relationships, to prevent gender-based violence, and to avoid its immediate and long-term impacts. We are really excited with a recent funding we received from Public Health Agency of Canada to undertake the next phase of this project until March 2024. This next phase will focus on a national collective action strategy, and we work to increase and strengthen links and relationships between the different stakeholders and establish greater coordination across programs and services and better knowledge sharing amongst programs working to promoting healthy relationships. What is exciting about this new funding is also that we had an application process that was opened. Unfortunately, the deadline was October 21st for applications, but it also it means that we'll be soon sharing some more information about the projects we'll be funding in this next cycle. So you can get more information on the project on our website and also about other funding opportunities. Do you
Wonderful.
want to move to the next one? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go on to the Gen C, Gender Equality Network.
OK. Moi, je vais le faire en français encore une fois. Donc, je vais vous parler du réseau Égalité des genres Canada. Les réseaux, il est rassemblé et facilité par la Fondation canadienne des femmes et rejoint plus de 150 femmes leaders de partout au pays qui travaillent ensemble pour avancer l'égalité des genres au Canada. Les leaders du réseau ont été nommés par de divers projets locaux qui y apportent une riche expérience sur des enjeux touchant les femmes et l'égalité des genres dans leur communauté. Le réseau a été lancé en octobre 2017 et depuis son début, les leaders se sont rencontrés dans différentes villes du pays et leur dernière rencontre en personne aura lieu à Montréal les mois prochains. Donc, on est très contente avec la clôture du projet. À chaque rencontre, les leaders du réseau ont partagé leur expertise et aussi ont appris les unes des autres en développant de nouvelles relations et de nouveaux liens. Les leaders travaillent ensemble à l'élaboration de demandes politiques détaillées sur des barrières systémiques relatives à l'égalité des genres et sur des enjeux à préconiser pour un changement des politiques au pays. Le réseau a également contribué à la promotion d'un rapport sur l'égalité des genres qui s'appelle « L'égalité des femmes au Canada, une analyse environnementale ». Le rapport est disponible pour le téléchargement sur le site web de la Fondation, où vous pouvez trouver aussi plus d'informations sur les réseaux d'égalité des genres. Le réseau est financé par le département Femmes et Égalité des genres. Once again, switching back to English, I want to talk to you about the Gender Equality Network Canada, GNC. So the GNC is a national network convened and facilitated by the Canadian Women's Foundation and includes a diverse group of 150 women leaders from across Canada who are working together to advance gender equality in the country. The leaders bring a wealth of experience on different issues related to gender equality and women's lives, working on these issues in their communities. The network was launched in October 2017, and since then, the leaders have met in different cities across the country, and their last in-person meeting is coming up, will be held in Montreal in November. At each meeting, the GNC leaders have shared their expertise, learning from one another and developing new connections. The leaders have also been working together, developing detailed asks on systemic gender equality issues and topics to advocate for policy change in the country. The network also contributed to the production of a report on gender equality called Women's Equality in Canada, an environmental scan. The report is available for download on the Foundation website, where you can find other information on the project as well. And GNC is funded by the Department of Women and Gender Equality. So any other information you'd like to know about the project, there is a lot of videos and other documents on the website of the Foundation.
Thank you so much, Janine. What I really love about the Gender Equality Network Canada environmental scan, it gave me a good overview of what's happened over the last, say, 20 years or so on gender equality movement and changes in policy work, and that informed my voting decision and helped me get a good kind of overview. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. It was so helpful for me. So thank you so much for those updates, and we're going to switch now to Anu, you again, speaking to some policy changes that have happened over the last little while, some good policy work that you would like to highlight for us.
Great, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Je vais peut-être mentionner d'abord comment nous travaillons avec les enjeux féministes qu'on veut souligner sur le plan politique. Normalement, nous travaillons en partenariat pour soutenir les groupes des fois déjà existants, les campagnes déjà existantes, pour mobiliser et pour amplifier les appels à l'action. Nous travaillons surtout à l'échelle fédérale, c'est-à-dire parce que nous sommes quand même un organisme pan-canadien pour la plupart des politiques, mais à la fois, nous avons quand même des personnes qui travaillent aussi dans des différentes provinces et éventuellement, nous aurons aussi une personne travaillant dans un autre territoire. Alors, quand il y a des politiques qui sont proches à nous, qui s'avèrent plutôt à l'échelle provinciale, territoriale ou municipale même, nous sommes aussi capables de répondre à certains appels à l'action. Je vais mentionner peut-être 2 ou 3 choses où on a eu quand même un peu de mouvement. Le plan national pour mettre fin à la violence faite aux femmes et aux filles, c'est une demande qui date de 2016, qui a été menée plutôt par Hébergement Femmes Canada. Et on a vu cette fois-ci, là, dans les plateformes de certaines partis politiques, qu'il y avait eu une ouverture à mettre en place un plan vraiment pan-canadien qui est stratégique, qui va au-delà d'offrir des programmes ou de changer certaines lois, qui va être plus structurante, à mettre fin à la violence faite aux femmes et à aussi comprendre qu'il y a des différences qui existent dans différentes parties du pays et que nous devons aussi voir à ce que les femmes peuvent dépendre des mêmes systèmes de protection un peu partout dans le pays. Ça, c'est un exemple. Et un autre exemple où nous avons eu des changements très positifs, c'est avec la pression qui a été mise sur les questions de violence sexuelle dans les lieux de travail. Nous avons vu quelques projets de loi du gouvernement fédéral qui ont commencer à changer cette réalité pour des personnes qui sont plutôt touchées par les lois fédérales sur le travail. Ce que nous souhaitons faire, c'est d'avoir plus de compréhension de partout au pays comment les violences sexuelles, les harcèlements, les propos sexistes peuvent avoir un effet sur les femmes et les personnes aussi non-binaires ou les personnes trans dans leur lieu de travail et que ça devrait changer. Nous devrons aussi changer cette réalité pour beaucoup de gens. So I'll just switch back to English and just reiterate, we work in partnership with people who are leading certain campaigns, looking for change to the benefit of women and non-binary and gender folks all across the country. We work mostly on the federal level, and in some cases where we have particular calls to action, we will support work on the provincial level and even on the municipal level. And we hope to increase this with more involvement also in the territories. Some of the key issues, I'm just going to mention two very quickly, although there are actually several in the last year, which I'm very proud to have seen that there were considerable movement and change, but two perhaps of the biggest ones where we've seen movement in the last year. The National Action Plan on Violence Against Women is something that has been led by Women's Shelters Canada since 2016, and we've supported it since that time, has finally made its way into the party platforms of several of the parties this time round in the federal election, that they would make moves to establish a comprehensive and solid national action plan to end violence against women. This is especially important because we know that with different provinces have different definitions, they use different ways of funding and supporting women's groups and shelters and sexual assault centres. And what we're hoping for with a national action plan is that a woman, no matter where she is in the country, can expect the same level of support and the same level of accessibility of service that she would if she were in another place. That's one of the main tenets of the National Action Plan. And we're hoping that the parties who promise to push this forward will take that on as part of their ongoing work as the new government is formed. And then the other thing that we think was a great win in the last few years is the different laws that have been brought into place to regulate sexual violence, put an end to sexual violence and sexual harassment in the workplace, in particular the federal law that addresses federal legislated employees. And we think that's a good start. There's certainly still a lot more work to be done to make sure all employees can expect safety and in their workplace, which is certainly not the case right now. But that would be an example of a good way we've moved ahead in the last few years.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that update. Especially that National Action Plan is very exciting. I remember for years people have talked about that. So to see that there's movement is really promising. And Canadian Women's Foundation will, of course, continue to support what that looks like and making sure it's a comprehensive plan and reaches all women in all their diversities across our really big and complicated nation. It's so important. So we're going to move right along, and we have Paulette Sr., our President and CEO, here with us to give us a bit of an update on some of the things that she feels is really important to highlight. So I'm going to pass it over to Paulette.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you to you and your team of women who get things done. for organizing our first digital town hall. So this is great. Thanks everyone on the phone for taking the time to hear what's happening at the foundation, and we hope to be able to continue this as a format of informing you along with other ways that we do that of what the foundation is up to. And thank you to my colleagues Janini and Anu for your very informative updates on the various areas of our work that we're up to. So I get 5 minutes to highlight a few things that I think is important. And I think I just want to continue with the thanking the thanks to those of you who have continued to support the work of the foundation. You know, we take the work and the mission that drives us very seriously in terms of working towards gender equality, gender equity, and ensuring that we are utilizing the resources of the foundation and those who donate and support the work we do to support women and grassroots initiatives right throughout Canada. So thank you for your ongoing support, and your support is not just in the form of whether you are donating to the foundation, but there's also support for our grantees that we get, because we're able to learn from the work that you do that support women and girls in communities right across the country. So we thank you for that, because those learnings help to inform the work that we do, whether it's in further grants that we provide, but also in terms of some of the advocacy work that we've taken on as a foundation and collaborate on with other organizations to carry out, such as what both Anu and Janine spoke to earlier. So I think I'll talk about 2 or 3 things in relation to what we've been up to. We've had sort of a runoff of our feet year over the past little while with a number of things in our plate. But I think the fact that we've just come out of on the other side of an election begs some comments from the perspective of how we were engaged in the federal election, and some of the follow-up things that I think we need to do as an organization, but within and as part of the women's movement, in terms of continuing to push forward on a number of things. So whether it's a national action plan on violence against women, or whether it's about ensuring that the government that's in power, working with the opposition and other parties, see how critical the work on gender equality is, and that we don't ease up on the pedal in terms of pushing forward. So some things that we did during the election, before the election I should say, is that we released an online petition letter so people could email all party leaders and ask what they would do to promote gender equality if they won. We also participated and was a critical member of the Up for Debate initiative, which has been a multi-election initiative over the years that I think has been extraordinarily effective in terms of putting forward the issues that we're concerned about for women and girls in this country. And even though we weren't successful in getting a debate focused on women's issues, in fact, for decades we haven't actually had a debate. And nevertheless, the alliance of organizations that were working on this to promote women's rights and gender equality never eased up and continued to push for some of the various items on gender equality that ended up in the leaders' platforms. So we will continue to work in this area. What we'll do after the election, now that we're in that post-election phase, we'll continue to advocate for women and girls on gender equality for all women and girls. This doesn't change, but our strategies and approaches may, as we have a new reality of leadership in this country. We now have a minority federal government, and so we will have to continue supporting some of the initiatives that came through Up for Debate. It's powerful and meaningful because so many organizations are actually involved right throughout the country, both at a national, especially national, but also regional level. And we will continue asking you to get involved in policy reform efforts and advocacy efforts, whether it's about signing on to online letters and keeping you up to speed on what's happening. So that's an important aspect, and this is extremely important, and we're really thankful for you to taking actions locally that will support the work that we're trying to achieve nationally. The other area that I'd like to mention is the work that we've been doing in our strategic plan. We are now over a year into our strategic plan, or a multi-year strategic plan. So we've been working under a very ambitious plan and goals to build up the movement towards gender equality. We feel that the work of the foundation is not so much about the foundation, but about the movement, which is what we were created for. So how could we actually be much more external with the work that we're doing while we continue to raise critical dollars for the work that you're doing in communities across the country? A major part of it is setting working towards a capital campaign. So we're in the process right now of developing our capital campaign. We'll be, in fact, releasing the PR portion of that campaign on Monday the 28th. And so this is about raising critical dollars that we can at least double the amount of grants that we're currently giving out for the incredible programs and organizations that we support throughout the country, and build gender equality and move women and girls out of poverty, out of violence, into confidence and leadership for good, right? So that for us, the for good part of it is about the systemic change that we need to build in to the work that we're doing. So while it's important that we continue doing what we've always done around providing grants and support to organizations across the country, we need to be making that systemic change and turning the tide on gender equality so that we can see improvements as we move forward. So the dollars that we will raise through the capital campaign will align very much with our 30th anniversary that's coming up in 2020, but it will also ensure that we can increase the number of grants that we're making, and we're looking to raise the kind of dollars that will have a greater impact in the work that you're doing. And we have also been given an initial gift towards the campaign of $1 million from one of our founding mothers, former Senator Nancy Ruth, who saw the value of the work that we're doing currently at the foundation. And through her commitment, we'll be able to do greater work. And we're really excited because part of the support that we've received came through the last iteration of the federal government, where they provided us with $10 million that we will have to match over the next several years towards this particular work that we're undertaking. So former Senator Nancy Ruth's gift to us of $1 million is only the beginning of where we need to go in terms of not just doubling the amount of money that we receive from the federal government, but in fact tripling that as we go forward over the next few years. We'll keep you posted on the official development of the launch of the fundraising part of our campaign in 2020, so stay tuned for more information. But as of next Monday, the 28th, look out for messages in various formats, online, in print, television, etc. Watch out for some of that information that we will be putting out about the work of our foundation as we work tirelessly towards achieving gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. Very exciting. We'll talk a little bit more closer to the end about this special campaign coming up on Monday, October the 28th. But before we do that, I'm just going to flag this for those of us who are in the Greater Toronto area. We have a very exciting event that we just announced, our annual exchange. This is an event that opens conversations to inspire change on gender equality. That's coming up on March the 5th, 2020 in Toronto, and it's going to be featuring Samantha Bee, host of Full Frontal. She's one of the funniest, wittiest, and smartest voices on late night television, and I particularly love her Twitter presence. It makes me laugh every day. So I think it's going to be just a fun event, let alone informative, let alone challenging, let alone something that's going to inspire us to move ahead.
Let alone that she's Canadian.
That she's Canadian as well, Torontonian as well. So really, this is such an exciting event on March the 5th. It's ahead of International Women's Day. As you know, that's on March the 8th. And this event is happening on Thursday, March the 5th at the Sheridan Centre, Toronto. You can buy your tickets right now online at canadianwomen.org/The Exchange. And if you are interested in coming, I want to just let you know that I have a feeling these tickets are going to fly fast. So please purchase them sooner than later. And if you are representing a company or organization that would like to partner on this very special event, you'll also find information on that webpage, canadianwomen.org/The Exchange, on how you can do it as well too. So just flagging this, we're so excited, and we're looking forward to having a great event. And the days leading up to it, seeing people join us as well. So we're going to move on. I'm just mindful of the time. We have some questions that we want to get to, and I'm going to ask Paulette to help me with these responses for what these questions, I think, are the kinds of things that we get a lot. And this is something that we've seen more recently with, first of all, the focus on Me Too, the focus on challenging sexual violence as it's worked into, unfortunately, our workplaces, our schools, our communities. And people might have seen on the news a special project that we're involved in for workplace sexual harassment prevention and intervention. So people have been asking us about that. Paulette, if you give us just a bit of a background on what that project is and what the goals are.
Sure. So the workplace harassment, as we know, is an issue that really was highlighted significantly through the Me Too online movement. And so workplace harassment is one of the issues that we have been advocating on for years. And it hit the news significantly over the past year and a half now, I would say. And so one of the initiatives that we have gotten involved with is a project called Roadmap to Future Workplaces. And so we're partnering with the After Me Too movement, After Me Too organization, which is a national movement to activate change on sexual violence in Canada to address the increased demand on sexual violence support services across Canada. Many of you would have known or heard that at the height of the Me Too movement, the demand for sexual support services doubled, tripled, quadrupled in some communities, and with not enough funding to be able to respond to the increased need. So it was thought of that we really need to look at what we can do to respond to that. And so After Me Too initiative approached us at the foundation. In 2019, we've decided to collaborate with After Me Too and the Aboriginal People's Television Network to address workplace sexual harassment through tools, resources, and training for federally regulated employees and employers, housed in a one-stop online platform called ROSA. So this is a unique platform that we are in the process of designing. The project is called, as I said, Roadmap to Future Workplaces. It's supported in part by the federal government, and we're at the very beginning of the project, and we'll be working throughout 2020 and beyond to get the platform up and running. So stay tuned for more information, but it is a really great opportunity that will provide options and choices and resources and tools for women who just want to know what they are, what their rights are, whether or not they're in a union, no matter what sector they're in, and that will be accessible to them, and they can make informed and powerful choices about what it is that they would like to do.
Thank you for that. And one of my colleagues in the room here gets a lot of calls at times about sexual harassment at work questions. And it really underscores for me how important this information is and how inaccessible it is at the moment. It's very hard to find. And you know that sexual harassment is covered by a different patchwork of laws and regulations. It gets super confusing. And of course, then what workplaces have in their policies also is confusing on top of that. So it's very exciting that we're going to have this resource. And what we'll do is make sure that everybody gets this information as this online tool is available. And we will ask you to please share it with your networks. That's just the baseline, what we would love everyone to do so that they can know that they can access this resource. And on top of that, of course, there'll be trainings and other things that come out as part of the project. So it's very exciting. I also want to follow up with a question that I've been getting a lot as well about sexual assault training for judges. So in June and then also in August and September, the Canadian Women's Foundation put out an online petition letter that people could sign to send to their decision makers in their provinces and territories and also the federal level, the MPs, that we want to get judges trained on the issues of sexual violence and sexual assault law. And people have been asking me, well, why would you want that? Why would judges need to be trained on this? Don't they know sexual assault law? They're judges. How would they not know about this? And I just wanted to mention to you the reason we really felt this was important. We spoke to our partners who are doing work in the grassroots level on sexual violence, particularly the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centres was really pushing for this in their own community across Ontario. And one of the things that is maybe a misconception is that judges don't necessarily have all the information about all the laws that they're working on and that they're ruling on. And as we know, sexual violence is one of those areas that people have a lot of mythologies about. There's a lot of rape myths out there about why a person might wait to report, why a person might not say anything when they're sexually assaulted, why they may not feel like they can go to authorities, and when they go to authorities, what they might be worried about in terms of re-victimization and being treated unfairly. And of course, these kinds of myths, we all kind of struggle with them. We all grow up with them, especially a person in the legal system who has to make judgments on these things that really impact people's lives. It's all the more important that their biases and their kind of unlearning that needs to happen get done. And training is one of the ways that you can make sure that this happens. Sexual assault services have been saying this for many years, and we felt it was really important to support that call for training on all levels of the judicial system and the legal system. So that's what these letters were about. And I really am so pleased to report that thousands of people have signed on to this. Thousands of people believe that this is important and really think that this is important to fairness for survivors in particular. We have to remember that the legal system, there are biases that might affect people in various levels of the legal system. It's not a just baseline fair system. There are things that need to be done to ensure fairness and ensure that unlearning and that relearning happens. So I wanted to just address that. It's a question that we get every so often, and I think it's such an excellent question because I think there are those misunderstandings about sexual violence in the system. Again, mindful of the time, we're going to move on. We'll go back to question and answer if we have a little bit of time at the end, but I do want to speak to our upcoming campaign. So Paulette mentioned in her update that we have a special campaign launching on October the 28th, and it's called The Tireless, as you can see there. It's available in English and in French. There's going to be different landing pages for people to find out what they can do to act. And this is really grounded in the incredible movement the Canadian Women's Foundation is a part of, and the service providers, organizers, volunteers, donors, and groups who support women, girls, trans and non-binary people, creating that change towards gender equality. We're so excited about this because we know that this work that we're seeing has been done by the tireless. And we want to inspire people to join these tireless people by donating to the work that we support across the country, signing up to get more information so that we can be in touch with people about what's moving and shaking on gender equality, and taking action in their own communities. So taking action could take the form of signing on to petition letters about policy reform and policy change. It can also be about leading a fundraiser in your community to support the incredible grantees across the country doing this work on a grassroots level. Really, what we want to acknowledge is the energy in our communities for achieving gender equality. And this is our attempt to harness it for a big goal. You know, gender equality is ultimately our vision for Canada, and it's certainly the vision for many of the organizations that we serve. So we're so excited about what this campaign can do to build up that momentum, to highlight that momentum, and get more people to join. So as Paulette mentioned, stay tuned. You'll see billboards, you'll see PSAs, that's public service announcements on radio and on TV. You'll see digital ads on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You'll see media coverage about it and more. What you'll see depicted is what you see depicted here on screen is, of course, an example of our English poster, but we will have lots of posters and lots of imagery in English and in French with lots of diversity reflected to just reflect the diversity of the movement and all the people doing this work. So our campaign websites will be live coming this Monday, and I ask you to please visit and encourage your contacts to do the same and take action. The campaign is really brilliantly designed to allow you to take action right when you go, so I would encourage you to do that. So yeah, we're super excited and we're running wildly, rolling wildly on this great campaign. So I do want to take this opportunity, as we have a little bit more time, to speak to some more questions and answers. And I want to throw a question to Paulette here. This question that we get all the time, people call us, how do I get funding from the Canadian Women's Foundation? What does that look like? Can you give us a sense of the kinds of things that people can do to get funded, what we fund, what we don't fund? Give us a sense of that just on a high level, and of course, I'm going to refer you to our website to get more specific information about our granting areas.
So on a very high level, it is a very popular question that I get, and you know, we are a foundation, so guess what? People have a right to ask us that question all the time. So basically, we have a number of different streams of funding around women's economic development, around gender-based violence and healthy teen relationships. We have girls' empowerment programs, and then we also have some programs around leadership. So we have a number of streams of funding. Most of our funding, probably with the exception of a couple, or one maybe, are multi-year. So whether it's 3 years or 5 years, most of our funding is multi-year. We will post our, when they become open, we will post it always on our website, but we'll also proactively send it out far and wide to community organizations and networks so folks are aware of it. And we also have some initiatives. So the one that was mentioned earlier around the IRP is also one that we are sort of sequencing in terms of a number of different dates to apply for funding. So I would encourage folks to look for different opportunities. We do our best to support you through the application process if that's needed. So if you need help, reach out to us. We take that very seriously because we want to make sure that our funding does reach as many communities as possible. So that's important, and that it's definitely at a grassroots level. And then we also, as I said, I mentioned we were successful in receiving $10 million from the federal government just a mere couple months ago, and we're still unrolling that as we speak. So we're still in the the post-signing of what that means. But these funds that we're receiving from the federal government is actually to fund areas that we haven't been very successful in funding, such as the North, for example. And so we've created a Northern strategy to better reach the North, but this particular pocket of money is for northern, rural, and remote communities so that we can actually reach out in a different way or a much more substantially in areas that we haven't been very successful in supporting. So that is to be unrolled as soon as possible, but stay tuned for information as that becomes available as well.
Thank you for that. I also want to highlight another question that we get about events. So sometimes folks may not be in Toronto to be able to come to the lunch event, the exchange that we're having on March the 5th. And they may want to be also going to other events that are a little bit more accessible in terms of price. So I would like to highlight something that we're doing on Monday, October the 28th. This is in Toronto. It is called Hidden Stories Come to Light. It's the Canadian Women's Foundation presenting Robin Doolittle. Robin Doolittle just wrote a book. She's an investigative journalist, and she just wrote a book in 2019, Had It Coming, What's Fair in the Age of Me Too. And this event on October the 28th picks up where the Unfounded investigative series that Robin did in the Globe and Mail left off. She did this, I think, a few years ago, and really Had It Coming as a book that has a very nuanced and informed analysis of change to attitudes about sexual violence in the wake of the Me Too movement and what still needs to change. So this promises to be a really kind of engaging event that I think will be provocative and will be challenging for us as we're all grappling about what the new normal is and what still needs to happen with sexual violence prevention and intervention. So after the presentation by Robin, there'll be a discussion about what's happening on the grassroots level for people challenging gender-based violence and what happens when these hidden stories of sexual violence come to light. So please, seating is limited. You got to get your tickets early. So it's coming up on Monday, so get them today. You can go to our website. You just go to our main page, and if you scroll down at the bottom, you'll see the link. And from the link, you'll be able to purchase them right online. Again, it's going to be Monday, October the 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the YWCA Nancy's Auditorium. That's on 87 Elm Street in Toronto, and the tickets are $25 per person. So that's one example of an event that's coming up. We're going to have other events coming up as well that are similarly priced and really about issues that are emerging in our pillars of areas that we fund. And I would also mention that we are going to be doing some more marathon work. We did the Scotiabank Toronto Marathon on Sunday. It was a 5K, walk or run, depending on who you were. And we're going to be doing some more of those opportunities as well. And those are a lot more accessible, and they'll be available across the country in different cities. So please stay tuned for more information about that in terms of what you can do to get involved. One of the questions that has come up is, of course, what can I do with my expertise? What can I do with my time? How can I support the Canadian Women's Foundation? We want to, first of all, put people towards these kinds of opportunities to support the funding that we do, because it goes directly to grantees who are doing this incredible work across the whole country in different communities. And this is so important because our grantees don't necessarily get the funding support from other areas. The funding available for gender-based violence and gender economic support and development and gender equality in general can be quite limited on a grassroots level. That's why we're so important. So I think that this is the number one thing that you can do, of course. And in terms of other volunteer opportunities, on our website, we do list some volunteer opportunities in terms of committees that we have and in terms of events that we have. These are limited opportunities that come up every so often. But really, to do the support directly in community, I would encourage you to go to volunteer.ca. That's a government-run volunteer portal that you can find volunteer opportunities in your local community and all of the things that are available that grassroots organizations need to get support on. So I really encourage you to go to that, volunteer.ca, and if you're thinking about the Canadian Women's Foundation and how you can support us, this fundraising in community, this fundraising through the work that we do and the events that we have and the marathons that we're a part of, I would encourage you to stay tuned for that and get involved with those pieces. That's really important. So I'm just going to move us along to our final slide. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to have these digital town halls periodically to be able to update you and give you a sense of what's going on, and again, allow the conversation to continue in a new way. And I just want to thank you for taking the time with us. You will get a recording of this so you can listen to it. If you have further questions, you will get an email where you can articulate those questions, where you can give us feedback so that the next digital town hall, you can get other content maybe you didn't hear that you wanted to hear today. And I just want to close off with a quote that is our inspiration here by one of our founding mothers, Rosemary Brown. She was a first in many ways. She was entirely tireless. And she said to just kind of sum it up, until all of us have made it, none of us have made it. And that's kind of our marching orders here at the foundation. We know that if we don't all work together for gender equality for all women and girls, for trans and non-binary people, all the people impacted by gender inequality, we're not going to say that we made it at all. That is our main kind of goal. And I just want to thank you for supporting this goal and for being such a kind supporter in your community, living this out in the work that you do. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.